So, no. Just drop it. Put it back. No, so then it's good you have, you late, have this coffee, it'll still be hot
Thank you.
when you get around.
Thank you very much. And hopefully this week I won't spill it on myself.
It was supposed to.
Boil Aramis. So the Gemara starts off with Boil Aramis is one of the people on the list that Kanoin Poigin Boy. There's actually a Shaila, the Rambam says that Boil Aramis is Rishus. Kanoin Poigin Boy is Rishus, it's not a Chiv. But there are those who hold Kanoin Boy is a Chiv. If you're a Kanoi, you have to do it, which is very dangerous. Because if you're not a Kanoi, you're not allowed to. So kum to if you're not a Kanoi and you kill somebody that was Boiler Amis, then you're a Ritzeach. But if you are Kanoi, you will have to do it. So I guess if you know, you know.
Stamp of approval.
You don't ask. You just go and do it.
Well, if you're a Kanoi, you don't go for a stamp of approval.
Yeah.
Go against being.
That's right. Boy minei Rav Huna Meirav. Rav Huna asked the following shaila of Rav. I'm sorry, of Kahana. Rav Kahana asked the following shaila of Rav. Loi pagu boy kanoin. What if kanoin were not pagayinim? So this fellow now is walking free. Does he get an onish? He was boiling Aramis. Ma what halacha? Inashe Rav legamore. Rav was taught this by his Rebbe, but Rav forgot it. So what happened was a kriya Rav Kahana b'cholmei. They read for Rav Kahana in his dream. They read from a pasuk. We should be able to know the psukim when we're awake. He already dreamt psukim. The Ben Yehuda asked, why did they show this to Rav Kahana, not to Rav? The teretz is because Rav slept very short, very little. He barely slept. So I'm not sure if that's the reason why they didn't have enough time in the little that he slept to show him the pasuk, or he sleeps so little, let not bother him. We'll give it to Rav Kahana. So Zok to Gemara, the pasuk says as follows: Bogda Yehuda, what's the lotion for Bogda? Begida. What's a Begida? It's a double cross. No, it's a double cross.
Right.
What is it?
Yehuda was dealt treacherously.
Bogda Yehuda, the To'eva Nesesa b'Yisrael, and the To'eva was done in Klal Yisrael, u'b'Yerushalayim, ki chilel Yehuda as Kodesh Hashem asher ha. Yehuda was machal as Kodesh Hashem, u'bol bas el nech, and he was boil bas el necher. Zok to Gemara also amalei. So Rav Kahana came to Rav and says, "This is the pasuk that I dreamt last night." Amalei hachi akaryan. This is what I was read to me. Ad kirei Rav l'gomer. So that pasuk tickled Rav's memory, and then he understood already what he was taught, and this is how he darshaned the pasuk. Bogda Yehuda, how did he rebel? Zu avodas kechavim. This is avodas kechavim. V'cheinu oimer, and it says in the pasuk, Kain begadetem bi beis Yisrael ne'um Hashem. So that was the aveira of avodas zarah. V'to'eva not necessarily be Yisrael of Yerushalayim. Zeh mishkav zachar. This is referring to the aveira of mishkav zachar that was done there. V'cheinu oimer v'zachar l'sishkavu mishkav isha to'eva hi. So to'eva generally refers to mishkav zachar, and Mefarshim explain even though you find the word to'eva associated with Eviznus, but to call something to'eva is generally referring to mishkav zachar. Then it says kichila Yehuda as kodesh Hashem zu zoyna. That means that Yidden had a relationship with the zoyna. V'cheinu oimer lo yiyeh kedesha lo yiyeh kodesh ubol bas kel necher zeh habo alakutis. That's someone's ability to kodesh could be even a Jewish girl. And he runs after Zaynis. Kedesha, which is a female lotion, is Michalelas Kedushasa, because she gives herself up with nus. V'chein Kadesh Michal Kedusha, someone who goes after Zaynis is Michalas Kedusha. That's a Jewish Zayna. But a bal bas el nechar ze a bal akutis. So these are the list of averis here, and what was the punishment for that? The pasuk says Yikares Hashem leish asher yasena. He should be nichras. So you see the oynish is kares. Or va'ina Yaakov. Let me see if I can read it. Ahal Yaakov. Mincha Hashem tzavakos. So how do we darshan that? Even if this yid who was mafka himself and was boil akutis, he's not going to have a yiloi or bechachamim. He's not going to have an or bechacham, meaning he's not going to have, even though he might have a son who knows how to learn, but he won't have somebody who will be a posik, someone who's respected and accepted. But I know talmidim, and he won't have any talmidim that could answer some zach that will be able to be a master of Torah. And imkainu lo ben magish mincha l'Hashem tzavakos. He will not have a child who will be able to be makar of karbanos, be makar of a mincha. So this is how we know that the chiyuv for boil ramis, if he not have kanoim poigim boy, he'll be chayav course. Once again, I believe this refers to bifar hesya. Anybody who's balakutis, ki'ilu mischatein ba'avoidis kecha. It says because he kares Hashem, lisha asher yasena. I assume that's how you know kares. It says you kares Hashem, lisha asher yasena. It also says he's not going to have children that are going to. But who said he'll have kares? You mean?
Yeah.
I understood that kares means kares. I'm not sure.
The whole curse is not going to have any anyway.
Well, officially, kares is just him dying, but Lamaisa they say kares also means that they won't have any children either. I don't know. I'm not sure. Does he say anything?
It's from this you see that what the punishment will be if the
But it's vague. It doesn't say. It doesn't identify what the punishment is. Okay. I think the Mesivta might have said that it's kares, but I don't remember. No, I don't know if the Mesivta said kares because I did not use the Mesivta last night. Okay, Zok Gemara. Amar Abchi Baravu. Kol habal akutis ki ilu mischatein b'avodas kachavim. It's as if he married an avodah zarah. Nichsiv ubal bas el nechar. Frank Gemara v'chi bas yesh loy el nechar. Does a getchke have a daughter? Ela zaba alakutis. Someone who's balakutis is like he married the daughter of the avodah zarah. The Amar Abchi Baravu. Was not the type he wrote, and it said on his Golgoilas, it's written on his skull. Zois, this v'oidacheres. And Rashi explains, Tasav Golgotol Shoyakim, Bishur Rabchi Baravua Nakatla. Since Rabchi Baravua told us this halacha, but what the Einish is, and tells us like being boiled a goy, it's like being boiled the daughter of an avodah zarah. So it tells us another member from Rabchi. Zois v'oidacheres, Nikama Nasis Bakvar. There was already in the Kama done in Yayakim, he was killed. But the Oida Cheres Tasaba, he's still going to suffer another fate. Zekenai, they're afraid of, Zekenai, they're afraid of the grandfather of Afreda, Zokrashi, who incidentally was Rabchi Baravua. That's what the Gemara tells us in Perek Chelik, which we're going to be learning soon. So I'm not sure why it's referring to him here as Zekenia de Preda, but it's the same person that we've been talking about. Rabchi Baravua, once upon a time, Ashkech Ahu Golgolta Tavishadya Bishara Yerushalayim. He once found a skull by the gates of Yerushalayim, and on that skull, guess what it said? Avakasav Iluya Zois Vaydacheres. So he figured this is Yahyakum's skull. So Kavra, he buried it. The Vadunovik, and it popped out of the ground. It wouldn't allow itself to be buried. Kavra, Vadunovik. Omar, he said, Hi Gulgaltal Show Yayakum. This is clearly the Gulgoilus of Yayakum. The Chsivbe, it says about Yirmiyah, he said about Yayakum, Kvuras Chamor Yikover, he will get buried like a donkey, meaning not a proper burial. Sechoy v'hashleich It'll be strewn on the streets by the gates of Yerushalayim. So clearly that's what's going on here with this interesting skull. Omar is Malkahu, Lemaisa Yoyakim, for better or for worse. He was a Melech Yisrael. The law of Oyrich Ara, his skull shouldn't be left to be here on the street. So what did he do? Shakla, he took it, Karch B'Shira, he wrapped it up in a shemata, and he kept it in a box. So could you imagine you have in your attic a box with a wrapped up skull in it? And then one day your wife is Pesach cleaning, and she opens up this box and she sees a skull there. Oh, my husband is a mass axe murderer.
I once had a skull. I took a course in anatomy. Skull, I could examine all the holes.
I hear. So here, so you would think that she would think that he was an axe murderer, but no, that's not what she thought. Asoi Devisu, his wife saw this skull. Chazisa, she saw it. Nofka, she went out. Amarlush the she told her neighbor, you know what? I got a problem. My husband is storing a skull in a box in the attic. Amarla, let me tell you whose skull it is. Hi, the Itzakamaisihi. This is from his first love. And she died, and he couldn't part with her, so he's still holding on to her skull. If you're an axe murderer, I could live with that. But you should still be holding on to your first wife's skull. Who knows? You don't even love me. You love the skull. That's a problem, really. The like Kamanshila, you won't forget about her. So you know what she did? She didn't confront her husband. She just took the box and she got to Latanu of a call, so she burnt it to a kriz. Ois skull. Asa. So Rabbi Chuya came and he saw what his wife did. What was his name again? Rabbi Chuya came and he said, that's the second punishment. The second punishment is that his skull would be burnt. He wasn't worried. He said, no, that's not my wife. First of all, it was my first wife. Who said I would have cared anyway? But it wasn't. It was your Yoakim skull. No problem whatsoever. Okay, Zok to Gemara weiter. Zok to Gemara weiter. Ki Asa Rabdimi, when Rabdimi came, Omar, he said, Bezdina shel Chashmonoi, the Bezdin of the Chashmonoim, Gozru made the following zera. Habal akutis, if someone is born akutis, Chayev alel mishum nashka. Nashka is nida, shivcha, goya, and eshishish. You know, Rabdimi and Ravin always argued, right? So Kiyosha Ravin, when Ravin came, Amar mishum nashkas, which is nida, shivcha, goya, and zoyna. Aval mishum ishus leslahu. We won't say that they're punished als ishus because goyim don't have ishus.
Not the Kuti already?
I think I'm not sure. This could probably means that you got anyway. Probably anyway. The idich nishayu v'aday le'mifkari. They're not mafkir their wives. So Mela, they do have ishus. They don't have mamish kedushin, but they do have a connection with their wives, and therefore the mokav ishusish. But let's see what Rashi says. Zokt Rashi, chayvela kloimer nenashpa. We'll get an oynish mishum kol elu because of all these affairs. Nida, there is no such thing as nida by a guy. It's still a very miyasa thing, and it's chilul for the kedusha, and therefore it has this feature. Shivcha, she's like a shivcha. Shekeneses Yisrael gevira nikras. Klal Yisrael is called the master. Oivedes kechavim. Lois eschatin bam. It says lois eschatin bam. Don't marry them. Ki yasir, because they will turn you away from the mitzvahs of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Kol HaMashir says alev v'mashma. Umiu lav de lois eschatin leko deiraisa. There is really no deiraisa de lois eschatin bam because you're not marrying her. You're just having a one-night stand. They're chastnus mashma. The Israel lois eschatin is only if you marry the woman. There, she becomes your permanent wife, and there she's likely to turn you away from the way of Hashem. But a one-night stand is not really that, and therefore it's derabbanan. Glazru, the liver shmina mishum kavim. And the eshishish, v'lav mamish, of course, she's not mamish in eshishish, the gedushin leslu. Umiyu le eshishish tamya, the chayav lifroi shemena, you have to stay away from her, shalo yehiragol be'eshishish. Aval ishus ein lahem, right where Rabban said there's no ishus to a goyim, shestam kutis move keres, ve'ena meyuchedes labayla. and therefore v'loydam leishish. And Rav Dimi said that their own wives they are careful with, and they're not moved for, and therefore there'll be an onish als eshes. You asked me if it's only kudus. It doesn't say if it's prefer hesher or not either. But pashas it means even not prefer hesher. It doesn't say anything about prefer hesher here. Okay, so to more weiter. What nation is it? It's the English is Aramean or something.
Yeah.
What? I don't know what nationality that is.
That was,
What does the article say anything about if it's dafka the hesher or even because the hesher it's kanan poigaboy. What do they need a kana for? And we know it's chorus without that. Well, this sounds pretty bad. And the other side is I don't see why there should be a difference between Akutis and any other. Sorry.
Like our
Arami
Aramis came from there.
The Kutim? Oh.
No, the Aramis.
I don't know all these societies.
What they say, Lavan was
Arami Oibravi. He was an Arami, yeah. Maybe David Zolty could tell us what the nationality of Kutis is. That's right. Those days, in the biblical times. Yeah.
I think it's one of these terms, vague terms that is all inclusive, all necessarily everybody. It wouldn't include possibly Muslims and Christians, but any pagans.
Because that's not called Ovid of Azar.
Not necessarily, according to
right. Well, it's interesting that you say that. It's interesting that you say that because there's a shaila in the Rishonim. What if someone is mizana with a goy, but a goy did not have a ger toishav, who's not even a zar? A ger toishav is a goy, but he's not doing a zar anymore. Yeah. So there's no issue of loises chatein because she'll turn you away. There's actually a shaila that could be that these halachos do not apply.
So it's a generic term. Kusi is a generic term
for a goy.
Right.
And for a religious guy.
Right. Even in Arami is also a generic term. It seems to cross a lot of borders. It's not just some people from Aram.
It's not Arami geographically. It's Arami figuratively.
Right.
I hear. Okay. That tells us what halach is.
You read it the same way.
I'm sorry.
Maybe Kusim, you read the same way.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. That's exactly what he's saying. Okay, so Dr. Gemara weiter. Amar Chisda, Habali Malech. So Reb Shimon was talking about, do you have to ask a Rav? If you are Kanoi, you go have to ask a Rav, okay, should I go kill him? Right? So Zokt Reb Chisda, Habali Malech Ein Moirlai. They will not tell him. A Bezin will not tell him to kill. As Rashi says. There's a Yaisa right now happening. For instance, there's someone being boiled in Aramis. So let's say Pinchas would have went to Moshe and told Moshe, what should I do? So if he asked, the halach is ein morimla. You don't tell him to do it. Kadosh means it comes. He responds instinctively to this action by doing this, and it's not what you ask. Yeah, exactly. The Rav says, you call yourself a kanoi, you just lost your label of kanoi. Itmanami. If someone comes to ask, you don't tell him that to do it. What would have happened if in the moment that Pinchas walked in, Zimri would have pulled away from this woman who he was being mizana with, from Cosby? Pinchas would no longer have had the right to kill Zimri. And Vahargoi, Pinchas, if Pinchas would have killed Zimri, if Zimri pulled away from Cosby for that moment, Nergalov, Pinchas is a Reitzach, and Pinchas would get killed for it. On the other hand, Zimri was a Nirdaf, and Pinchas had the status of a Reidav. So Nebach Zimri, Vahargoi the Pinchas, if Zimri would have turned around and killed Pinchas, a Nergalov, he would not have been killed for it. Sharei Reidavu. because Pinchas was a roidev. So a kanoi is someone who does this instinctively, because if he thought about it, it's a very dangerous thing. As he's swinging to kill the guy might be Pirish, and then he's a Ritzach, or the guy might turn around and kill him, and he has every right to kill him.
Just want to interrupt for a second. In the back of the art scroll, there's a strict definition of Kutsi, a non-Jewish tribe brought by the Assyrians to settle part of Eretz Yisrael, left vacant by the exile of the 10 tribes. Their subsequent conversion to Judaism was considered questionable, and their observance of many laws was lax. So that's a strict definition, but I think the term is used in a very generic way for anybody who's of an avodah zarah.
It's like Chaim boys used to refer to Hasidim as Katskis. You know what? Because once upon a time, one of the Rebbeim in Chaim said over a story about the Kotzker Rebbe. He's a sharper guy. So anytime they would run into from the Chuzid, they would call him a Katski. You don't remember the term Katski? Oh, you're such a Katski. That's where it comes from. It's the Menahogim from Klal Yisrael. Dr. Gemara Vayter. Vayomer Moshe al Shoiv to Yisrael. Moshe told the Shoiv to Yisrael. What happened? Halach Shivto Shal Shimon Eitzel Zimri bin Solid. There was a game going on because it was the Nus of the Midyanim, right? This was after Bilam failed to curse Klal Yisrael. He gave Balak to Eitzah to send girls to be Mizana and then lead them to Baal Pa'or. So that was happening. There was a Megefa going on. It was a horrific crisis.
So that's when Zimri was.
That's the story now. That's exactly the story that we're about to learn. That's right. So Halach Shivte Shal Shimon Eitzel Zimri ben Solid. They want the Zimri ben Solid. They're Nasi. Amla told him, Hein done and did in the fascists. I don't understand. People are dying left, right, and center. And you're sitting and learning in the Bismedrash. What's going on over here? Ma'asa, what did Zimri do to try to protect his Shevet? Ahmad, he got up, he was able to gather a group of 24,000 people. The Halach Eitzel Cosby, and then they went to Cosby. I can't stop thinking about Bill Cosby, but that's not who this was. This is Cosby. She was a daughter of a king, of a Midianite king. Amalo, he told her, Hashmili, please listen to me. In other words, I want to be Mizana with you. Please come be Mizana with me. I don't know. I wonder what a woman would think if someone knocked on her door with 24,000 people and said, come be Mizana with me. She would slam the door. What do you think I am? So say, what you are, I know. I just negotiated the price. Hashmili. Amalo, she told him, I'm sorry, I'm not able to sit with you because Bas Melachadi, I am the daughter of a king. You know what my father told me? Don't allow yourself to do znus. Moshe, your target should be Moshe Rabbeinu. You have to take down Moshe Rabbeinu. The only person that you should be mizana with is Moshe Rabbeinu. So who are you? Anasi? No, small potatoes. I'm not going to violate myself for you. I said, what do you mean? I'm greater than Moshe. Afu Nasi Shevetu. First of all, I'm also a Nasi of Shevet. He spoke about himself in third party. He had a superiority complex. He said, not only that, I'm greater than Moshe. Shahu Sheni Lebetin. I'm the second son of my mother. Because he had Aaron, who's older than him, and Miriam, who's older than him. So what happened? Tavsa Biblurisa. I guess at that point she was masking, or maybe he didn't care because he grabbed her by her hair. I don't know why it's the hair, but I know that the Ben Yehoyada speaks about it because Rabbi Raza smoked it out. Moshe. He grabbed her and brought her to Moshe Rabbeinu. Omar Loi, he told Moshe Rabbeinu, Ben Amram. When someone calls you Ben Amram, you know he's not being respectful. It's interesting that David HaMelech was always referred to by Yonasan as David, but he was always referred to Ben Yishai by Shaul HaMelech. So calling someone the son of his father, that's like saying son of a, right? So Amr Ben Amram, Zu Asura Miteris. Am I allowed to live with her? In Tamer Asura, and if you're going to try to say it's Asur, Bas Yisrael mi tir loch. How did you marry Bas Yisrael? You hypocrite. So Rashi tells us, Bas Yisrael you know before Matan Torah, before there was such an Isser, before there was a Klal Yisrael, even the Eden were B'nai Noach. When Nichnasu the Klal Mitzvahs all together, he Mayim. The Gerim Rabbim Shalei Rabbim. But somehow HaKadosh Baruch Hu made it in this alma mimenu halacha. Moshe was speechless. Shenemar loy b'sinai haboyel kutus. Moshe didn't remember the halacha of haboyel kutus kanoim poigim boy. So halcha they went. I'm sorry, this alma halacha, comma. Go kulam b'chia. Klal Yisrael started to cry. Moshe Rabbeinu couldn't answer. He couldn't stand up to this rebel. Behind the chsiv, the hema boichin pesach v'yalmoyed. Why were they crying? Because Moshe was caught. And he couldn't answer. Uksiv, there's this moment of confusion. Everybody's crying. There's a disaster. Imagine the scene that was going on. People are dying left, right, and center. 24,000 people confront Moshe Rabbeinu and catch Moshe Rabbeinu, and Moshe Rabbeinu does not have an answer. He becomes speechless. So now everybody's crying and they're confused. They don't know what's going on. They don't know what to do.
He didn't have an answer why he was different.
No, he didn't have the halacha. He didn't have the halacha. This Amba ben halacha, that Kanoim Poigim boy. Vayar Pinchas ben Elazar. Pinchas ben Elazar saw what was going on. Mara, what is it that he saw exactly that prompted him to take this action? Amarav ra ma'isa v'niskar halacha. When he saw what happened, he remembered halacha. He did remember the Kanoim Poigim boy. Amar loy, so he went to Moshe, who was his great uncle. Ache avi abba. It's Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron. Right, so Pinchas was the uncle of Aaron, and Moshe was his great uncle. Loy kach limadetani. Didn't you teach us when you came down from Har Sinai, Haboyel Aram is Kanoim Poigim boy? Amalai Moshe says, you're right, but Karyana de Igrisos, since you're the one who delivered the message, you read the letter as if the message from Hashem, Il Hava Parvanka. He should be the one to carry it out. Parvanka is the shliach. He didn't ask. He told Moshe. He couldn't ask. Moshe didn't know. He saw Moshe didn't know. So he jumped and says, I remember the halacha. You're supposed to go there. If he would ask, Moshe would have said no. That's right.
Just a point of interest that Pinchas himself was the offspring of Elazar and one of the B'nai Yisrael.
The Gemara is going to discuss that as well.
Oh, so
right.
he
Elazar married a daughter or a granddaughter of Yisrael. There's a little bit of a discussion about that. If he married a daughter of Yisrael, she would have been a very old lady. So Pashas, it was a grandchild.
okay, but she was a Midianist anyway, wasn't she?
Correct. Oh, because she was from Israel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear. But again, was that either that was Kodim Matan Torah or she was Megayer.
Well, Kodim Matan Torah is really okay. That's always the teretz, but doesn't Chazal say all the others, kept the Torah beforehand? Yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean
So
they had.
we got to make our minds which one we hold like.
I remember the story about the Kodim Matan Torah. But you remember when I remind you, remember there was this 95-year-old man who was rich his whole life, and when he was 95, he decided to give a Sefer Torah to the Besmedrash. So, but Sefer Torah afterwards calmed down. One of his friends asked him, "You were rich since the day you were born. You could have given a Sefer Torah at 30. Why did you wait till you were 95 to donate a Sefer Torah?" He said, "Listen, you and I both know I've done a lot of affairs in my life. When I go up to Shemayim and they ask me about my affairs, I'll say that was all before Matan Torah." Shmuel Amar. So Rav said he saw that there was confusion, so he jumped in with halacha. Shmuel saw Ra Shein Chachma Vein Tfuna Vein Eitza Neged Hashem. He said there's nothing you could ever do to stand up to Hashem, and he also knows that Kol Mokim Sheyesh Chil Hashem Ein Chalkin Kavod LaRav. He jumped. He didn't ask Moshe. He jumped and did it right away. He didn't even mention anything to Moshe. You know why? It's like Meir Halacha b'fnei Rabbi. It's not respectful for a little Pinchas to jump in when his great uncle is in charge of Klal Yisrael. He should be in control. But when it comes to cover Hashem and Chachma v'Tfuna, any logical and appropriate measures of respect do not apply when there's crisis. You just take action. Ein Chalkin Kavod LaRav. Rabbi Yitzchak Amar, Rabbi Elazar, Ra Shabbat Malach V'Hishchis Ba'am. What he saw was there was a Megefa going on. There's no time in the time that he could ask permission. In that time, who knows how many more people will die? So he jumped up. Now, if there's 24,000 people around the tent cheering on Zimri doing a Maisa Navol. If he comes with a weapon, what are the chances that he's going to get through the crowd of 24,000? Nil. So he had to make it look like he was a friendly. Now, why didn't they have a Raimach? He had to go get a Raimach. Mikan she'enich nosen b'chleizayin lebeis hamedrash. So now we know where Pinchas was. Pinchas is in the Beis Medrash when he heard about all this, and he didn't have a spear with him. He had to run and get one. Shalaf shinana v'nicha ba'unkaloi. He took the blade off the spear, so it shouldn't look like a spear, like a weapon. Rather, it should appear to just be a walking stick. While you're nishan alav, let's turn on to his face. He was leaning on it because he wanted to make it look like it was benign. As Rashi says, so the 24,000 people shouldn't think that he is a threat to Zimri. The Chivon Shagei told Shifta Shal Shimon, when he got to the Shevet of Shimon, Amar, Heichan Metzinu, Shifta Shal Levi, Gadol Shal Shimon. Listen, if he could indulge in these carnal pleasures, was Levi any holier? I also want to participate in the fun. As Rashi says, Heichan Metzinu. Gloimer, Atem Afkirim Atzmechem Achar B'noi Smoyav, Ani Lamalo Yatzakaboishchem. Why could I also not indulge in these pleasures? V'chishevet sheli gadol mishalachem she'eya parish v'tor yoshim mikulchem v'nichebes tachebes beser. Kivin sheshamu came. Once they heard that, so they said, "Oh, he wants to join us." Amrul hanicha lichanis, let him go in. Hanicha lichanis l'kuva, let him go inside to this brothel. She'afu reitzika b'senu. He wants to party with us. Adarab. So that's how he got right in. Amrul nichaloi afu lasos trachov. Let him go on to do his needs, as Rashi says, to do an affair. Nichnas, he went in, hitiru, and he took care of what he had to do. So Dr. Rashi, and they said, hitiru prushnas over. It must be, if Pinchas, ben Elazar, ben Aaron HaKohen is doing this, it must be that what's happening is mutter, and what Zimri was doing was 100% mutter. Because otherwise Pinchas wouldn't do it. As Rashi says, hitiru prushnas over, vade mutter lasus came. If even Pinchas is doing what we're doing, it must be a good thing to do. Kach amru emdim sham kishor shenichnas. Zimri was given yeah. Amr Rabbi Yochanan, Dr. Rabbi Yochanan, Shisha Nisim Nasu Lola Pinchas. During this ordeal, 6 Nisim happened to Pinchas. Echad Shahayala Zimri Lifresh V'Loi Pirish. As soon as he saw Pinchas walk into the room, he should have separated from her. And then a nit in the harger, as Rashi says. Why didn't Zimri do it? He stayed with her together, which now allowed Pinchas to kill him. What he should have done is he should have been lizoik la'anshe shifte l'sayai. He should have screamed, "He's here to kill me! Come help me!" And they would have barged in and quickly saved him.
Even if you're
Okay, Kanoi Pagi, you have to give. Well, there's actually a shaila of Kanoi Pagi, you have to give him Masra, but he gave him Masra. You mean? So he could have stopped. Yeah. But there's actually a shaila of Kanoi Pagi needs Asra, so that's going with the shita that Kanoi Pagi needs Asra. Where he penetrated them with the spear was exactly at the point of penetration, as Rashi says. And what was so good about that mace? Why was that necessary? He saw that, and everybody saw that they were in the act of znus. They knew he did it appropriately because he clearly was there when they were in the act, and we know he's only allowed to kill them when they're in the act. They could have said you had some other issue with Zimri and you're using this as a pretext to kill him. Well, this was very clear that death was coming his way. Another nice was he's walking with them on an upright, it's like a shish kebab. If you hold a shish kebab up, the pieces of chicken don't fall down. But if you have 2 people on there and it's off balance, because at that place it's not at their center of gravity, they would all fall off. It was a nace that they all remained on the spear. The echad shabah malach v'gbias amashkot. In order for him to balance that, he had to hold the spear upright. But the spear was higher than the doorway, so he really would have had to put it down. That would have thrown everything off balance. The malach raised the doorway that he could walk out with the whole thing upright. As Rashi said, nishtu lifrei zemizeh atsharo shahargam bedin v'gbias amashkot v'itzion nidbakim. They were on top of each other on his spear as he walked out. He didn't have to lower down the spear. That would have made them slide off, and then it wouldn't have been that that in your phrase presentation that these were in the act of an Aveira.
So someone who's learning all the time in the base mother, and he's got the strength to lift two out of box.
It teaches you that a yeshiva has to do exercise. The echad.
Oh, he still had the
Yeah.
he's using those standards, you know?
The echad sheba malach v'hishchis ba'am. The malach came. The hishchis means v'hutrudu b'nei shivtoi l'hargal Pinchas. The malach killed people there, so they were busy watching. They were busy dealing with their own grief, and they couldn't. They couldn't deal with Pinchas because otherwise they would have killed Pinchas. And then Pinchas came. Pinchas had a little bit of a confidence. He gave him like a throw down in front of him. He was like this class. I'll do this. Omar of him said, because of these two Averis, you're going to kill 24,000 people. Doesn't say Vayispalel. Vayispalel means he was like arguing, making an argument in court, like advocating on behalf of Klal Yisrael. Amar Belazar Vayispalel. Nemer Vayipalel min Lamed Kavayochel. Also, Plilos and Koinoi. Plilos means riv. He was like arguing with the bunch of them. Is this appropriate? So Biksu Malachi Asharis Badachai. The Malachim wanted to push him away. What a chutzpah, you're going to argue with Hashem. Amalem HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him, no, Henichaloi, let him. Kas Kanoi ben Kanoihu. He's the Kanoi, the son of a Kanoi. Why? Where does he ben Kanoi? Rashi Mishevet Levi Shekina b'Masadina. He has this in his DNA. Levi was the one. Interesting. It was with Shimon together. They were partners there in their Kanois. Levi was the one who went and killed out the city of Shechem, and they said, it's funny. Then they were on the same team as being Kanoi.
Yeah.
Now, Shimon, yeah. Okay. Meshiv Chema, ben Meshiv Chemahu. He's being Meshiv Chema, he's protecting Klal Yisrael from the Chema of Hashem, and he is the son of Aaron HaKohen, because by the Ma'aseh of Korach, it says, as soon as Yotza Ketzef, quickly Aaron went and brought Keteris. His chilu Shvatim avazim oisam. Now the Shvatim started making fun of him. The Bav is a beautiful shtickle on this. If anything, the Shvatim should be happy because he is trying to break the Pirch of Shimon. If anything, it should be Shevet Shimon that were mavazim. But it says in the Gemara, Shvatim, everybody's mavazim. And they said that he did it for the wrong reasons. Reason ben putizeh. And this is referencing what David Dalton said earlier about who his other grandfather was. Reason ben putizeh, Shapitem avi imoy, the father of his mother, fattened up agolim lavod chavim. Meaning his mother was the daughter, or at least the progeny of Yisrael. And he should have the chutzpah of all the people that would dare to do such a thing. Him, Bahar Gnasi Shevet Mi Yisrael, the Lubavitch Rebbe learns that Pitem, it doesn't say time he did about Zorah, Pitem is a very ruthless thing to do to animals. It tortures them, it stuffs them. And what they were trying to say is that Pinchas didn't do it because he was a kanoi. He did it because he was a violent, bloodlusting, bloodthirsty person. And you see, he has that. He has that from his grandfather, who also had this violent streak, and he didn't care to torture animals. So the pasuk says, no, that's not our Shimon. You know who our Pinchas is? It's not our Pinchas. You know who our Pinchas is? Bakos of a Yichsar Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron HaKohen, who was a Merachem, who was an Shalom of Shalom. The first thing you should do when you greet Pinchas is you should greet them with Shalom. So you should announce to everybody that this isn't a violent person. This is a peaceful person. Rebellion used to always speak by Pinchas. He said, to come to Kedusha, Kanois, Solomon mit violent, as a murderer. Was op dat? Dat is mir meint as unwissen, was heißt Solomon. Solomon ist dann der Rat in Hashem, und das ist Solomon. Und nicht dann Solomon, nicht der Rat in Hashem. Remember that? Solomon ist dann der Rat in Hashem. Okay, sagt ich mal weiter. Lechein Amar, Hinini Neuschland, Sprich Sholem. Mir meint das diplomatische Sache, das ist Solomon. Nein, dann der Rat in Hashem, das ist Solomon. Sagt ich mal, this kapara that Pinchas just did by killing Zimri and Cosby, it will be a long-lasting kapara. Gewaltig. Omar Rav Nachman Omar Rav. My dichsiv, it says in the pasuk, Zarzir Masnayim Oy Tayosh Umelach Alokim Imoy. What does that mean? Dalid Meyois the Esim the Arba Be'ilois Bal Oisa Rasha Oisa Yoy. So it says 424. It's really a Lashon Guzma. Anytime you find a Lashon of 400, often it's a Lashon Guzma. But whatever the case is, Zimri was boiled this woman many, many times. Pinchas waited until he was boiled so many times. Eventually, he was very exhausted. And Pinchas didn't know that he didn't need to wait till Zimri was exhausted. He could have killed him right away. He didn't realize that the Rebbeinu Shalom is with him. All the strength belonged to Rebbeinu Shalom. The Rebbeinu Shalom of strength was there with him, meaning Pinchas didn't have to wait for Zimri to become exhausted. He could have attacked him right away. Shishim. There were 60 biyos. So let's see Rashi. Pinchas Yudea Shakadosh Baruch Hu Sheshmoi Melech Alokum Imai. Shmelech Alokum, the Melech of strength. Shlo Hayat Tzarech Lamtim Shi Tashish Koichloi. V'nir be'enes at Rashi Shateva Zois Loshen Arabi. It's an Arab word. Shekol Psichas Tevesean is with Aleph Lamed with El. So Alokum means to stand up. Shishim be'enu davar remes b'mikra. We don't have a pasuk that indicates that it was 60. Ad shenasa keveya hamuzeres. When he was boiler so many times that he got the system was running out of capacity. Shenasa beitzim shaloi kebeitzim muzeres. They became like unfertilized eggs. Shahuklash v'nisbal bel shich v'zeres shabesoichei v'reiv b'ilais. His body couldn't even produce any more zera, so it was very loose. Right? So he haisa karugam alemayim. She was developed so many times. There was so much shich v'zera inside her that she was like overflowing. Omer of Kana umayshava beisa, and her makai mayshava, meaning where I guess her uterus was like big like a beisa, was blown up because she was developed so many times. Tanya Rabbi Yossi, kever shalah amal. Her kever, meaning the uterus, was an amal wide. That's how inflated it became from all of the action. Amar Sheshes, like Cosby Shema. Really, her name wasn't Cosby. Ella Shevilnoi Bas Tzur Shema. Her name was Shevilnoi. That was her real name. V'lama Nikra Shema Cosby. So why did they call her Cosby? Shekosba Vavia. She lied to her father. Rashi says because he told her only be novellas to Moshe, and she was novellas to a lightweight. Davaracher Cosby She'amr Lavia Kois Bi Amzeh. You know what she Cosby? I want the cause of their downfall. I want to shech them. I want to take them down. And that's why she did what she did. So she did it with her riches. Behind the armor inchi, what is Shivilnai doing hiding away in between the reeds? Obviously, she's there with one intention and one intention only, to do znus. But the kalpi, the kani, amongst the reeds, again in a sort of a secluded place, Shivilnai, my boy, what is she needed? And then they said, Gav Salima, she's a zoina like her mother's a zoina. Okay. Dr. Rashi, Gav Salima, and Ifa Ima, her mother's also a zoina. Her bad reputation ended up reflecting on her mother. So now that we got Cosby's name, I thought she was they called her Cosby because she was a comedian. But Vice was different. Zimri had 5 names. His name was Zimri, his name was Ben Salu, his name was Shol, his name was Ben Aknainis, and his name was Shlumiel Ben Tzuri Shaddai. Oh, I got to tell you about this one. So Zimri al Shanasa Kebetz HaMuzeres, he was boiled so many times like we saw earlier. It impacted his production. Ben Salu means Ad al Shehisli Avoinoi Shal Mishpachtoi. He drummed up the Averis of his family and he brought a terrible din on them. Garam Yiskru v'Yisapru, Rashi says. V'Yispru. He was Garam that they should, that the Kodesh Baruch Hu should look and bring up the Averis of his family. Shol al Shehishel Atzmil Dvar Aveir. He wasn't really interested in doing this. He was doing it to make a point. So he sort of lent his goof out. He also was violated his goof to do an Aveir. Ben Kanan is also Maisa Kanan, because Kananim are people who are Mizana. Umashmai, what's his real name? Shlumiel ben Surishado Shmoi. And the Chassam Sofer says, whenever when someone gets messed up, you call him a Shlumiel, right? It comes from this name over here. The name Shlumiel is not a new thing. Shlumiel comes from biblical times. That's where the name Shlumiel comes from, that he's a guy who's a loser. At the end of the day, he's a big loser. And he got killed at the end. That's a Shlumiel. Okay. Zok to Gemara weiter. Koyin sheshimesh betuma. Remember, we said a koyin was mishamish betuma. Instead of them taking him to Bezdin to get the malchus, the pichik could come and beat him to death with rods. They bust his skull open. Boy minei Rabacha bar Huna may Rav Sheshes. Koyin sheshimesh betuma chayiv mitzvah b'dei shemayim or ein chayiv mitzvah b'dei shemayim. If they didn't kill him, was he chayiv mitzvah b'dei shemayim? Amal tinisua koyin sheshimesh betuma. Ein echav kayan mavino ishal Bezdin. El pichik Huna might see noisoi. Who's Lazar? Who poisonous Meichel B'Gzirin? If he's chayiv b'dei shemayim, why would they touch him? Lishvekei, let them lead him by himself. The likto b'dei shemayim will be killed b'dei shemayim. That's not a good raya. Elamai ain't a chayiv. You can say he's not chayiv. Mi kamidi rechmana patre v'anan nekim v'niktalei. Is there something that the Torah says he's potter and we're going to do an extrajudicial killing? V'loi, what are you talking about? But now you see such a zach because we just learned in the last Mishnah. Mishalaka Mishana Bezdin Machnisin Oishel Akipa. Zok Gemara Rachmana Patre Benan Katlidin. You're going to say the same thing there. Amar Biyirmiyah, but it's not a good riot because Amar Biyirmiyah Amar Shlakish. We just learned it yesterday. The Malchus Shal Krisus Askinon. The Gaber Barkatolahu. Right? The Gemara said it's speaking dafka by a Malchus of Krisus, and the death doesn't come right away. But since he's mad for himself, we will hasten the death. That's what we said. So you see, there was a Chiv Misa. So you don't have a raya from the fact that the Perchuna killed him, that there was no Chiv Misa. If it's a kasva, we had the case in the Mishnah where someone stole one of the Kalim. Amar Yehuda, that's speaking Bechlisharis Askinon, Uramiza, there is some root to it. Lo Yavoyu Lirais Kavalas HaKodesh V'Mesu. So there is some indication that there's a Chiv Misa there. But if there was no Chiv Misa at all, Mahechet you could do it. Ayva Makal as a Koshim, that's not a Chiv Misa. So tomorrow, no, Hatani Rabbi Yosef, Yaka Koshim is Koshim, the Mechzik Baruch Hashem. Again, it has a shaykhis to someone who should have a death penalty. Ayva Boil Ramis, so tomorrow, Hakril Rav Kahana B'Cholmei. Didn't we have the dream that Rav Kahana had? Ba'atkei Rav L'Gamrei, and the pasuk said there, Yikaris. So that's how we know there's a Chiv Karis. Moti, so this is a riot that there's a Chiv Karis. This is a right to Chiv Karis for that pasuk. Because how could we kill him unless there was a Chiv Misa on him? So it can't just be that the oynish was that his kids aren't going to be Talmid Chacham. It must be there's a death penalty on him. Okay, we'll stop here because tomorrow we'll learn the next kasha. So right now we're in a suffix. We don't know if there is a Chiv Misa B'dei Shemayim on the kohen who does avoida when he's Talmid. Okay, we'll stop here.